Coronavirus has caused the largest ongoing lockdown in human history, 60+ million people or as many as 760 million depending which source you trust. In tandem, the WHO and leading experts warn of high risk of pandemic, meaning epidemics will likely erupt in other countries. Global demand for surgical masks has surged 100x, causing mass shortages, and some have been panic buying food and even hazmat suits. Precautionary action makes sense if you believe a virulent epidemic will reach you, but how should one know if the virus is about to erupt nearby, and when one should take action? Below, I present my general analysis, my precautions and two models, one for Singapore and another for the US. COVID-19 is nasty and it will likely come to your country since emerging in China. COVID-19 has been found in people in dozens of countries. Also, researchers have shown that, as opposed to SARS or MERS, 50% of infections occur during a long asymptomatic incubation period of as many as 14+ days. Even worse, the virus seems to survive for days on surfaces, making it harder to find the newly infected. And COVID-19 is virulent. Experts report the following impact profile for the first approximately 70,000 COVID-19 cases: approximately 81% mild, approximately 14% severe requiring hospitalization, and approximately 5% critical, with a 2% to 3% case fatality rate (CFR). But not only is it coming to your country. It's likely to cause an epidemic because of its high R0, R0, which represents the number of people each infected person will go on to infect and is expressed in the following formula: R0 equals transmission risk, P x contact rate, gamma x duration, D. If R0 is greater than 1, each infected person will infect more than one person, causing an epidemic. According to experts, coronavirus R0 is between 1.4 to 4 and many believe it is higher than 2. This also implies a COVID-19 epidemic would erupt even based solely on the asymptomatic period. For further discussion of the growth fundamentals, R0 and more, please see Ed Baker's fantastic post. Here is an example assuming an overall R0 of 2.6 and therefore an asymptomatic R0 of 1.3, assuming a first infected cohort of 10 people and an incubation period of 10 days. By the time the first batch of 10 people is symptomatic and easier to identify, there will be 13 new asymptomatic people who may be at large. Given COVID-19 survival on surfaces, to curb infections a country would have to round up every person who was in the proximity of any place an asymptomatic infected person went, even after the infected person had left. This seems infeasible, even for China. Also, all said areas would have to be thoroughly disinfected. China seems to be trying this and has even gone so far as to disinfect and/or destroy potentially tainted money. Why all these lockdowns in China? Without a vaccine on the horizon, and with the vicious growth channels above, China can only try to drive R0 under 1 by reducing transmission and contact. Also, I imagine that at some point without city lockdown, R0 worsens as containment efforts are harder to coordinate and hospitals are overwhelmed. In that scenario, the local healthcare system becomes an infection source and collapses. This hypothesis is supported by the fact that China locked down major cities every time the confirmed number of infected crossed a mere approximately 500. The big question is, how many people were actually infected when cities were locked down with an officially reported number of 500 confirmed cases? Because many infected people experience mild symptoms, it's hard to know the true number, but we can imagine two possibilities. Possibility 1, the infection had spread to many more than 500 when the confirmed number was 500, implying that it's very hard to know how many people are infected before a country is forced to take extreme measures. In this case R0 may be lower, but detection is harder. Possibility 2, the total infections were quite close to the confirmed infections and the true R0 is greater. My guess is that possibility 1 is more accurate and the virus was widely spread before authorities started testing people. Remember that even severe cases may only surface as COVID-19 after the virus is widespread, since early serious cases are few and may be misdiagnosed as flu or pneumonia. Whichever turns out to be more accurate, I sadly predict that the Chinese lockdowns will continue for months, until the authorities believe no more than a small number of infected people are at large when free movement is restored. Keep in mind the following for all locked down Chinese cities: thousands of infected dead may be in their homes, from which they need to be evacuated. All infected residences must be thoroughly disinfected. Diagnostics are in short supply, making it impossible to know who is actually infected based on official confirmed diagnoses. Infection is still ongoing, meaning it's likely that there are still more than 500 asymptomatic infected at large. The healthcare system is overrun with coronavirus. Conclusion: based on its impact profile and nefarious growth channels, I am sadly convinced that the COVID-19 epidemic is likely not going to be confined to China. Instead, it may be gathering steam and could become the worst pandemic in 100 years. We should input available data into our models and watch things closely to identify when to take precautionary action. If you found this article useful, please share it with other concerned people. Also, if you have your own analysis or suggested improvements, please reach out.